All right, if you're an innovator in India's tech scene, you're going to want to listen up. The ground has just shifted beneath our feet. Today, we're decoding the huge changes to Section 3K of the Indian Patents Act, and we're going to break down exactly what it means for the future of software patents. So, can you actually patent software in India? For years, this has been the million-dollar question for developers, founders, you name it. And the answer was always, well, kind of complicated. But that's not the case anymore. And that's because brand new guidelines just dropped that completely overhaul the old system. We're talking about a dramatic change that brings a ton of much-needed clarity. Trust me, this is something you'll want to understand. To really get how big this shift is, we first need to take a step back and understand the problem everyone was up against. So let's take a quick look at the old obstacles. For the longest time, Section 3K was, well, it was a maze. It was supposed to exclude abstract things like algorithms and business methods from being patented, but the way it was worded created so much ambiguity for actual, legitimate computer inventions. The result? Inconsistent and totally unpredictable outcomes for innovators. But then, the courts stepped in. A whole series of landmark legal cases started to chip away at those old, rigid interpretations, and that's what paved the way for this huge legal shift. You know, this journey toward clarity really happened in the courtroom. It kicked off with the Farid Alani case, which was a massive deal. It brought in the technical effect test, and we'll circle back to that idea. Then the Raytheon case got rid of that old, kind of arbitrary rule about needing new hardware. More recently, the Microsoft case forced examiners to look beyond the UI to the actual core tech. And the BlackBerry case made it clear. An abstract algorithm isn't patentable, but its technical implementation, now that's what matters. Each case built on the last, setting the stage for what we have today. And all of that brings us right here to the new gold standard. These latest guidelines are a complete paradigm shift. It's a move away from focusing on the form of an invention to actually digging into its substance. And the difference is just stark. The old way was obsessed with form. Did you have new hardware? Was your claim written as a method or a system? The new approach just sweeps all that aside and asks a much smarter question. Does your invention give a technical solution to a technical problem with real, measurable improvements? I mean, this quote really says it all. That arbitrary new hardware rule is gone. The whole focus now is on providing a technical solution. And this brings us to the most important new concept you need to grasp. What exactly is a technical effect? So here's your definition. A technical effect is a measurable improvement that goes beyond what a computer normally does. It's not just about simple automation. It's about an actual technical contribution. This is the new bar you have to clear for patentability. Okay, so what does that actually look like in the real world? We're talking about software that makes a computer process data way faster, or maybe it uses memory more efficiently, or beefs up security with better encryption. It could even be software that gives you precise control over a physical robot. These are the kinds of tangible, technical improvements that now qualify. And on the flip side, it's just as important to know what doesn't count. So simply automating a manual task like accounting, or just generating a report, or creating a new method for making art, these things are not considered to have enough of a technical effect under the new rules. Now, the really great news here is that this isn't just some vague new philosophy. The guidelines actually introduce a very clear, very structured framework for how patent examiners are now going to assess inventions. For algorithms, for example, there's now a clear three-step test. Examiners will first identify the core steps. Then they ask two key questions you can see here. Are these steps actually technical, or are they just abstract? And do they provide a real-world technical solution? If the answer is yes to both, it's not excluded. It's all about that concrete technical implementation. For computer programs, it's a pretty similar four-step process. But I want you to notice step 3. That's the heart of it all, assessing for those measurable technical effects. This kind of structured approach brings a level of clarity and predictability that just didn't exist before. So you might be wondering, how does all this apply to the really cutting-edge stuff? Well, the guidelines directly address frontier technologies like AI, blockchain, and even quantum computing. For AI, there's a really critical distinction to make. If you use AI as a tool to help you, a human, create an invention, that invention can absolutely be patented. But if the AI is considered the sole inventor with no human intervention, that's not patentable in India. The involvement of a human inventor is still what really matters.
And hey, if you are patenting an AI or machine learning invention, you need to be very specific in your application. You've got to disclose details about your training data, your model's architecture, and, this is crucial, provide the actual validation metrics that prove it's effective and that it makes a real technical contribution.
So, what does this all boil down to for you? Let's translate all this information into your strategic edge for navigating this brand new patent landscape. Let's just map out your new strategy here. Where the old way focused on new hardware, you now need to focus on technical effect, which means you have to highlight your measurable improvements. Where the old standards were ambiguous, you now have structured frameworks. So you need to structure your claims around technical solutions to technical problems. This is your new roadmap to a successful patent. Honestly, the future outlook here is incredibly positive. Innovators are going to have way more legal certainty. The whole environment is now much more favorable for pure software patents than it's ever been. And by aligning more closely with global practices, India's entire tech ecosystem is going to benefit. At the end of the day, this is the key takeaway. The era of focusing on form is over. We are now firmly in an era that values and protects technical substance. So, the final question is really for you. If your software innovation produces a real, measurable technical effect, the path to protecting it is clearer than it has ever been before. So, are you ready?